everyone, and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. What we have today is a deck that is going to feature it's going to feature the Florges EX as the main attacker of our deck. You guys had seen Florges EX in action not that long ago in the budget deck that I had taken a look at when facing a blue golf ball. However, this deck doesn't have any monetary restrictions, and it's just a much better deck overall for the most part. So Florges EX is of course going to be the main attacker of our deck. Again, we're going to be making use of the Bright Garden attack for the most part to hit for ludicrous amounts of damage, provided of course that the Skyfield Stadium card is at play. With the Skyfield Stadium card, that Florges EX can hit for a massive 180 damage for 2 energy cards attachments. The best thing about the Bright Garden attack is that it requires a Fairy energy card and another energy card of our choice. So we're actually going to be running a total of 8 Fairy energy cards and 4 Plasma energy cards, opening up a unique possibility of us to take advantage of the Genesect EX and use it as a sort of tech Pokemon. So the Red Signal ability will allow us to drag out some of the opponent's bench Pokemon and then switch it as their active Pokemon. So Genesect EX actually is just a really useful Pokemon in this type of deck. So we are actually running a single copy of it. Again, we're just going to be taking advantage of its Red Signal ability. We'll never really be making use of the Megalo Cannon. Now you guys are probably thinking, well, is it really worth me to waste my turn with respects to the energy attachment just to make use of the Red Signal ability? And that could potentially backfire if I don't have enough energy cards on our bench Pokemon. And that is absolutely true. However, we'll be running 2 copies of the EXP share in our deck. So that's really going to allow us to take advantage of the Genesect EX. So whenever we have the EXP share attached onto one of our bench Pokemon, whenever active Pokemon happens to get knocked out by an opponent's attack, we can use the EXP share to attach one of those Fairy energy cards. Well, really any basic energy cards. Unfortunately, that doesn't hold true for the Plasma energies. It's only going to work for our Fairy energies. Attach one of those Fairy energy cards from our active Pokemon onto one of our bench Pokemon. So this again really allows us to try and take advantage of the Genesect EX. Another very interesting card that we are running in our deck, it's mainly to take advantage of the battle compressors that we are running in our deck, is the Revive card. So we can battle compress some of our Pokemon into that discard pile and then use the Revive to put them into our bench, ultimately making that Florges EX a much more potent attacker. So we'll be running a total of 2 copies of the Revive card in our deck. And again, speaking of Battle Compressor, we're going to be using it to get mainly those executes with the Propagation ability into our discard pile. Possibly could use it to get some additional Pokemon in our discard pile and then drag them back out using the Revive. And of course, some of our supporter cards in that discard pile and then VS Seekering them out. So Battle Compressor, just a very flexible card. We are running 3 copies of it. Speaking of executes with the Propagation ability, we are running 3 copies of it in our deck. This will allow us to repeatedly grab them out from that discard pile, put them into our hand, and of course ultimately lay them into our bench if we have the Skyfield Stadium card at play. If the Skyfield Stadium card gets discarded, we will be sending our Executes into that discard pile. So Execute is just a really nice Pokemon in this deck. We are running a total of 3 copies of it. Some other Pokemon that we are running, guys, we're running a total of 3 copies of the Xerneas. Has both the Geomancy and the Rainbow Spear attack. Geomancy will allow us to attach 2 Fairy energy cards onto 2 of our respective bench Pokemon. So it can be just a nice Pokemon with respect to energy acceleration. We also have the Rainbow Spear attack, which unfortunately does require us to discard an energy card attached to this Pokemon to be able to make use of it. However, it is allowing us to hit for the magic 100 damage, which is necessary for us to deal with any decks that run both the Suicune and the Sigilif that both possess the Safeguard attack. So Xerneas is a pretty useful Pokemon, and I've actually been encountering a lot of Safeguard Pokemon recently, so I think it's definitely a very worthwhile Pokemon to include in this deck, and it does seem to pull its weight. So we'll be running 3 copies of it in our respective deck. We're also running a single copy of the Xerneas EX. We're absolutely not going to be making use of the X-Blast attack, just way too energetically expensive. However, we will be taking advantage of the Breakthrough attack, which allows us to hit for 60 damage to the opponent's active Pokemon and an additional 30 damage to one of the opponent's bench Pokemon. This will allow us to snipe any badly damaged Pokemon as well as any of the opponent's executes as well, for example if they're running any of those. So Xerneas EX can be pretty helpful depending on the situation, so I felt like it was nice to include a single copy. And the very last Pokemon in our deck, guys, is going to be the Klefki with the Secret Key ability. So this allows each of our Fairy Pokemon to have to have a little bit of additional resistance whenever they do encounter those darkness type Pokemon. So their resistance would be increased to -40 as opposed to the -20. So Klefki can actually be pretty useful, depending again if we are facing a darkness deck. So we'll be running a single copy of that in our deck. Now, discussing some of the item cards in our deck, guys, I felt like I've discussed most of the important ones, so I'm briefly going to be discussing our ace-spec card. Dowsing Machine is absolutely the card to go with. We can use it to retreat those Skyfield Stadium cards, which again are very important, and with respects to, of course, winning those Stadium Wars, it can also be useful with respects to allowing us to grab onto those EXP shares, which really again allows our deck to function much more efficiently. So Dowsing Machine is a pretty nice card. We are running a single copy of that, and yeah, I think that's mostly going to be it. So I'm going to be discussing the rest of our cards relatively quickly. We are running a single escape rope and the switch card to allow us to switch in between our Pokemon. We have again those two revives, which I have already discussed, a single Starling Megaphone and Zerastic, mainly for us to deal with Garbodor, which I have been encountering quite a bit of recently, 2 Ultra Balls to allow us to grab the Pokemon that we need, 3 VS Seekers to allow us to reuse any of our supporter cards, 2 Colruses for Ant and 4 Junipers for some draw support, a single Lysander, because again we do have that Genesect EX, so technically we're running 5 Lysanders in our deck if you count those plasma energies as Lysanders, 3 Pokemon fan clubs to allow us to grab the Pokemon that we need, and yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. So with that, let's go and find ourselves an opponent. This deck has been performing quite well for the most part, and do I wish to discard my changes? No. Yeah, actually let's just say yes to that. I'm pretty sure I didn't make any changes to my deck, so not really sure why that was popping up. So let's actually go and find ourselves an opponent, guys, and see what this deck is capable of. I've actually been facing a lot of Seismitoad EX decks recently, which is really unfortunate because again, it just prevents us from being able to make use of a lot of our cards that we are running in our decks, such as those EXP shares, those battle compressors, things like that. Luckily for us, though, those Florges EXs can often overpower Seismitoad EX completely and hit them for a massive 180 damage, again for just 2 energy attachments. So that is definitely something that I really do enjoy about this deck. So it looks like we've just found ourselves an opponent. Looks like it's going to be a Darkness, a Lightning, and normal type deck. Alright. So we may actually be seeing that Klefki in action. So let's see what Pokemon. Yeah, so we're gonna see the Shadow Circle, Demonetric Spirit Link. Alright, so it looks like it's gonna be a Mega Manetric EX and Mega Manetric EX in combination with a Darkness type deck. So this should be kind of interesting. Let's of course draw into an additional card. Okay, it looks like we're gonna get that Xerneas EX onto our bench. So okay, we're actually seeing a lot of Lightning type Pokemon, those Pikachus, that Yveltal EX. I'm gonna go and attach a Fairy Energy card onto that Florges EX. And I think that may just be how I end the turn. I'm gonna hold off on the EXP share for now. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. I'm hoping the opponent's not running a whole lot of Headringers. I mean, that would, yeah, so maybe I should have attached that, EXP share onto that Florges EX. I was really thinking I should have, but I sort of decided against it. I'm going to go and attach an additional Fairy Energy card onto that Florges EX. I'm probably eventually going to make use of that Juniper, so I'm going to go and use that Ultra Ball to get rid of the the Professor's Letter and the Dowsing Machine as well, to look for an additional Florges EX, which I will be laying down into our bench. Let's go and attach the EXP share onto that Florges EX, and let's go and use that Juniper for some new cards in our hand. Okay, I do have the Skyfield Stadium card, but I will be holding off on that for the time being. Let's go and use the Lead Attack to look for the Pokemon Fan Club. I think would be pretty good, just to have some additional Pokemon onto our bench and just ultimately increase the total damage output of that Florges EX. Luckily for us, the opponent doesn't have any energy cards attached to any of his Pokemon, so I will absolutely not be using a card such as the N or anything like that. We're going to be seeing an Ultra Ball. That Shaman EX can actually be a very big liability of a Pokemon for the opponent to bring out, just because again that Genesect EX does have that red signal ability, and that could allow us to completely devastate those Shaman EXs with a single attack. So our Florges EX Should have hopefully been able to attack, but unfortunately, looks like we're going to be seeing the Lysander instead, and the opponent's going to drag out our benched Florges EX. So let's go and attach a Fairy Energy card onto that Florges EX. I think now would be a pretty good time to make use of the Pokemon Fan Club. Genesect EX, no, looks like it's prized. That is quite unfortunate. We already have a Xerneas onto our bench, so I think I'm going to go and look for a Xerneas EX. And we have 3 Florges EXs, right? Yeah, that's actually more than enough, so I think one more Xerneas. Never know when those Xerneases may just come in handy with respects to using their Geomancy attacks. And gonna hold off again on getting rid of the Shadow Circle. Let's go and use the Lead attack to look for one more Pokemon Fan Club. I think would be good. Maybe a Lysander. I think I'm gonna go for the Colress, guys. I think Colress could be a pretty useful card as well. We do have a pretty heavily loaded bench, and the opponent has quite a few bench Pokemon in their bench as well. I would have loved to use that Genesect EX to bring out the opponent's Shaman EX, so that's unfortunate. Looks like we're going to see another Lysander. My goodness, the opponent's just sort of switching in between our Pokemon, starting to get a little bit irritating at this point. We do have a switch card, and okay, it looks like we're going to draw into it, so that is definitely quite nice. So let's actually go and switch in to that Florges EX, which has the Headringer. Hopefully we'll be able to draw into an additional energy card. Let's go and bring out the Skyfield Stadium card, use that Colress for some new cards in our hand, and yeah, we should be able to get rid of the opponent's Manectric EX in a single attack. Hopefully, if we have enough executes in our deck. So that is 1 execute, 2 executes. Come on, please tell me that the very last one is not prized. And awesome, looks like it isn't. So definitely very, very happy about that. Let's go and use their abilities to propagate them out of that discard pile. Not really sure why they're not showing up, but it's just something that I have gotten used to at this point. Let's go and lay down those 3 executes and hit for that magic 180 damage. I think I'm going to go and attach the second of our Headringers onto... Well, Xerneas EX has taken a little bit of damage. Could just see a Xerneas attacking as well. Maybe I could use it to load up this Florges EX, but again, we should be able to attack during our next turn. And hopefully that Florges EX should be able to survive. So let's go and attach that to one of our Xerneases, and then use the Bright Garden attack, 180 damage, and that will allow us to draw onto 2 prize cards. Awesome, looks like we have that Genesect EX. I actually really want to bring out that Klefki as well, guys. Looks like the opponent is going to bring out the Shadow Circle. That Xerneas EX does have a bit of damage counters on, but I think getting rid of those executes would probably be a better option at this point. If the opponent gets it, yeah, so it looks like we're going to see that Florges EX unfortunately losing its life during this turn. And I'll definitely be making use of that EXP share, of course, to look for that Fairy Energy card and latch it onto one of our Florges EXs, and then that second Fairy Energy card to attach it onto that Xerneas, to that Florges EX, I guess. Looks like I sort of did it in a bit of a backwards order. Alright, let's go and bring out that Florges EX, guys. And awesome, looks like I have a Plasma Energy card, so I'll absolutely be attaching that to that Florges EX, and making use of that Colress, I think, again, for 8 brand new cards in our hand. Skyfield Stadium card, and we should be able to get rid of the opponent's Yveltal EX in a single attack once again. I think I'm going to hold off on that Xerneas. We're probably going to have to discard those eggs again, so let's actually go and propagate those eggs and put them back into our bench. Again, we haven't really seen any Darkrai EXs, so I'm not particularly worried about them getting picked off, at least not at this point. So let's go and bring out those 3 eggs, and then make use of the Bright Garden, hitting for exactly 180 damage, and that will allow us to snatch up 2 more prize cards. I think we should be able to win the game during our next turn, guys, by making use of that Genesect EX's special ability. No, it looks like we're going to see Shadow Circle. Yeah, so those eggs are going to go straight back into that discard pile. Unfortunately, I've already used that dowsing machine, so can't use it anymore to grab onto one of those Skyfield Stadium cards. I'm probably going to have to make use of the, well, I should still be able to win. I mean, if the opponent doesn't bring out an N, again, I have the Plasma Energy, and that Shaman EX is just going to act as a huge liability to the opponent, allowing us to get a very, very easy knockout. Okay, so we're going to see an additional Shaman EX. Again, though, if the opponent does get an N, then things could still potentially go our opponent's way, so not really sure. But again, we have a massive prize card advantage right now. The opponent only has only has drawn onto 2 of their prize cards. Still 4 prize cards remaining for them to be able to win, and we only need 2 prize cards to be able to win. Even if we do, well, we saw the Professor Birch's observation, yeah, so we're absolutely, no, okay, we're maybe not going to be able to win. during this turn, unless I have a Lysander in that discard pile. No, unfortunately I don't. Again, we should have been able to win, but the opponent managed to get rid of that Plasma Energy card attached to that Florges EX, so that is definitely unfortunate. And yeah, it doesn't look like that opponent's Raichu is going to be able to attack during this turn. Um, and yeah, so things could still things could still go either way, but again, we do have just a massive advantage on the opponent at the moment. I'm gonna go and attach a Fairy Energy card onto that Florges EX. Not really sure. I mean, we have a very solid hand right now. I don't really think that using that VS Seeker is really going to help us out much at this point. Well, actually, no, we can only hit that Yveltal for 120 damage right now. Yeah, so you know what? I'm actually gonna go and make use of that VS Seeker to look for a Colress. Let's go on Colress, and awesome, looks like we're gonna get a Skyfield Stadium card. And just gonna say thank you to the opponent, and just wish them good luck as well. So, because I mean, there is still a possibility that they could make a comeback. And again, I'm not really sure why most of my messages don't go through for some reason. But anyways, let's go and use our abilities and bring out one of those executes onto that discard pile. Use the Bright Garden attack. We will be knocking out the opponent's Yveltal, and that will allow us to snatch up one more prize card. We should hopefully be able to win, unless the opponent manages to get rid of both the Skyfield Stadium card and end down our hand to much fewer cards. So things are not looking good for our opponent whatsoever right now. We're going to be seeing that Raichu make its appearance. Of course, it has absolutely no retreat cost, and looks like we're going to see an additional Shadow Circle. So let's go and send that Execute back into that discard pile. The Muscle Band getting latched on to that Manectric EX, hitting us for 40 damage. And again, we haven't won the game just yet, but if I have the Lysander in our deck, we should be able to win the game. Yeah, so let's go and get rid of that Lysander, and then we're going to go right ahead and VS Seeker it out. So let's go and VS Seeker that Lysander back into our hand. Gonna say GG to the opponent. And yeah, so that is going to be it, guys. So I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let's get rid of that Pikachu and draw onto our very last prize card. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also have two annotations that should be popping up in case you guys would like to see a random video or my previous video. Be sure to click on either one of those annotations. They should be popping up as cards as well if you guys are using your cell phones. And yeah, so that is going to be it. Again, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.